Hi, I'm Donald Sinclair. I'm a science teacher with Great London Tutors, and today we're going to be looking at a few topics in chemistry. This is how to name compounds in chemistry. Naming compounds is usually very simple. For example, copper chloride. If you know what the symbols are, and you can read them off the periodic table, it's very simple to give the name. Copper chloride contains copper and chlorine. The only thing you have to remember is that in a compound such as this, where you have a metal and a non-metal, the non-metal is usually given the suffix "ide" at the end to show that it's in a compound. Similarly for this one here, aluminium phosphide. If, however, oxygen is present, then it is usually given the ending ATE. So for example, aluminium sulfate has the sulfate group rather than sulfur. So that's given the name aluminium sulfate. The ATE at the end signifies that there's oxygen present as well. Other common non-metal names that go at the end of compounds, which sound a little bit different to how they're listed in the periodic table, are oxides. For example, magnesium oxide. You don't call it a magnesium oxygen, it's called magnesium oxide, which just means that there's oxygen present. Similarly, sodium hydroxide. The OH is one thing, it's the hydroxide group, so it's given its own name rather than listing the oxygen or the hydrogen separately. Another handy thing to know are the naming conventions for simple organic compounds. The start of an organic compound's name is dictated by how many carbon atoms the molecule contains. So starting from the simple methane, adding more carbons we get ethane, propane, butane, pentane. Carrying on from there, the names are the Greek names for the number of carbon atoms they have. 6 is hexane, 7 is septane, 8 is octane, and so on and so forth. The ending of an organic compound's name tells you what type of organic compound it is. So the ANE ending for these ones here tell you that these are all alkanes. This means that they all have single bonds between the carbon atoms. The other important group are the alkenes. These are named in exactly the same way, except they end ENE. This is because they have a double carbon-carbon bond somewhere within them. And they're named in a similar way as the alkanes go on. So next, if it had 3 carbon atoms, it would be propene, butene, pentene, and so forth. The alcohols are all have in common a hydroxide group at the end of one of their molecules. So they all have the ending anol, ethanol, and then propanol, butanol, pentanol, and so forth. And finally, ethanoic acid has these 2 things at the end of the molecules. A double bond with an oxygen and a single hydroxide bond. And they're called OICs at the end of them. So you have ethanoic acid, propanoic acid, butanoic acid, and so forth.